first few photos are actually from December 31st, 2020. I was out driving around and decided to stop by BNSF Argentine Yard. Here we see an ET44C4, SD75M, and SD60M parked beside the shed. Norfolk Southern 1186 and SD70 ACE was also among the power here. There was also this Union Pacific SD70M with some large graffiti on its side. There was also BNSF number 600, the first AC44C4M to be rebuilt from a former Santa Fe C44-9W back in 2015. The locomotive was originally built in 1994 for the Santa Fe and had the war bonnet livery until its rebuild. Norfolk Southern Unit 7500, an ES44DC, and 1817 and SD70 ACU are the two units about to head back to Avondale Yard after a transfer move. Now we cut to January 9th where we see a westbound intermodal. The locomotive seen in this picture is SD45-2 number 1582. There are also some track maintenance machines next to this cut of auto racks. BNSF 1351 is an SD32 Eco rebuilt from an SD45-2 in around 2012. BNSF 1971 is an SD40-2 that has been based at our Argentine Yard since 2009. BNSF 1892 is an ex-Santa Fe SD40-2 that has worked in Argentine Yard for about 10 years. A Norfolk Southern 9732 is a C44-9W built around 2002. Silver Trucks on 1799, an SD40-2 that has also worked in Kansas City for about 10 years, is a relatively recent addition. The relatively clean trucks and fuel tanks on this Gevo caught my attention. Down by the Locomotive Maintenance and Inspection Terminal is a Canadian National SD70I. I also caught SD40-2 number 1614 moving about the yards.
I'm good.
C44-9W number 1109 sits under the scaffolding under LMIT. On the side of the building, there was this war bonnet clad C44-9W, which I believe is number 706. Instead of taking the interstate down to the Kansas City Southern Yard, my dad and I drove through the West Bottoms in downtown Kansas City to look at some of the old buildings there. Here are a few pictures that I took of the old buildings. This 3-track crossing had extra gates between the second and third tracks. Outside of Notch Yard, there is this Union Pacific ES44AH number 2751. Number 4368 is an SW1500 originally built in 1970 for an industrial customer. Behind this ex-Canadian National GP40-2W are some Tier 4 SD70 Aces. The Progress Rail EMDX Yellow is a perfect complement to Kansas City Southern's red, yellow, and black livery. This SD70 Mac had some nice glossy black paint. Here's a pretty nice shot of the grain elevator at the Kansas City Southern Yard. The amount of locomotives at Union Pacific's Neff Yard is still huge, but has changed slightly. And it's not just locomotives that are stored here, there are auto racks from a bunch of different owners in this yard too. Union Pacific 4242 is an SD70M that was built in 2000. 734 is an AC44CW originally built for the Chicago Northwestern in 1994. 6854 is an AC44CW that was built for the Union Pacific in 1995. UP7168 is an AC44CW. 2494 is an SD60M with the later cab with the two-piece windshield and was built in 1992. There's also some more stored power by the locomotive shops, as well as some Jeeps and SD40-2s. Number 2415 is an SD60M with the earlier three-piece windshield that was built in 1990. I did take a close-up of 6854, which I described earlier. And there are hundreds of other locomotives stored here, built between 1990 and 2005. I also saw this Scion XB with a crazy amount of silver trim. At Mid-America Car Inc., there are a few BNSF SD40-2s, including number 1657, which was built for the Burlington Northern in 1973. I did manage to see a Union Pacific baggage car at Mid-America Car Inc., and it was also the same day that Canadian Pacific's Navy unit was also in Kansas City. But that unit was on a through train passing Union Station an hour before I left. And this SD40-2, number 1688, was also built for the Burlington Northern in 1973, but has been completely shopped and finished. Norfolk Southern 3480 was acquired from the BNSF in 2012 and is an ex-Burlington Northern SD40-2, and it was repainted in the Operation Lifesaver livery when it was on Norfolk Southern. CEFX 1572, an ex-Belt Railway of Chicago SW1500, was built in 1970 for the Penn Central. CEFX number 3816 is an ex-Louisville, Indiana GP38-3 that was repainted by Mid-America Car Inc. back when Louisville, Indiana owned it. Number 6493 is an ex-CSX GP40-2 originally built in 1980 for the chassis system. An ex-Norfolk Southern number 3578, an SD40-2, was originally built for the Union Pacific in 1979. Number 1932 originally carried the number 7133 when it was built for the Burlington Northern in 1979. Number 3465 is an ex-Burlington Northern SW1500. Now we head down to Norfolk Southern's Avondale Yard north of the river. These white hoppers are kinda cool, as well as those gondolas. There was this DC to AC unit under the sanding pipes. I think they're sanding pipes, I'm not 100% sure what they are, but I know that locomotive is a DC to AC locomotive. Number 5190, a high hood GP38-2, was originally built in 1976 for the Southern Railroad. Both the Norfolk and Western and Southern Railway preferred high hood locomotives throughout the 60s and 70s. There are also a few auto racks stored in Avondale Yard, which kinda makes sense because Norfolk Southern does a lot of Detroit-Kansas City traffic. Next to the 100-year-old Sears Roebuck & Co. warehouse, which is now Park Lofts, is the caboose at Caboose Park. This is ex-Burlington Northern caboose number 10305, originally built around circa 1968 for the Northern Pacific. Although the exterior of the caboose has been repainted since placing here, the interior seems to be almost original. There's even an electric fan still inside it. I also noticed this neat hot box tag that has been treated with Kulaks. And in this photo you can clearly see that there is a desk facing the window of the end of the car. Although you can see the original road number clearly on the inside of the car, you can still make out where it is on the outside of the car. It looks like the car hasn't been repainted very well. Now we're at BNSF's Murray Yard, where we see a BNSF GP38-2 number 2346, originally built for the Frisco Railroad. While HLCX 3890 is an ex-Missouri Pacific GP38-2. HLCX 1050 is also GP38-2, originally built for the Milwaukee Road. And here's an ex-Santa Fe number 549, a B40-8W, originally built in 1990. The B40-8W is probably my favorite modern locomotive. It's alongside the C40-8W and C44-9W. 8554 and 6191 are leading a coal train heading southbound. 6191 is an ES44AC, while 8554 is an SD70 ACE. Also leading another coal train is number 5789, an ES44AC, which has had dispatches since 2018. There's also this Kansas City Southern SD70 Ace in the yard. In a parking lot near Murray Yard, my dad and I discovered this old Trailmobile trailer from the 1950s. It is most likely a Model VC trailer. I do like the aerodynamic corner light housing on this trailer. There's even this old pay telephone sitting here in the middle of nowhere, at least nowhere for anyone who wants to use a phone. And I also noticed this diamond along Atlantic Street as we were heading towards the downtown airport. At the point of a mixed train ready to cross the Armour Swift Burlington Bridge is number 7373, an ES44C4. Since we were by the downtown airport, my dad and I drove around the loop road that goes around the airport. I believe this might be a Cessna 310, but I'm not a big expert on aircraft. I don't know what the aircraft in front is, but I know the one behind it is a Beech B-50. Also by the Hangar 9 Airplane Museum is a Mack tanker truck, which is pretty cool. And there was also this craft my dad didn't even know. Apparently it might be a de Havilland Heron. I assumed it was some old Russian thing that was captured, due to how unusual it looked. Now that I'm editing this video, I kinda wanna go to this museum when it's open. And we also drove through the West Bottoms again, and I noticed this John Deere Plow Company building. And there was also this Southern Pacific auto rack by the old stockyards area. There were these two UP SD40-2s serving the sidings that crisscross near the yard. And that does it for this video. Thank you guys for watching.